Hey y'all, welcome to another Fireside chat. I'm gonna go ahead and invite our two guests on, or just invited CFO, and now inviting Leo. So let's see if they're gonna hop on and join us.
Oh,
Hello.
hey,
Hey Leo.
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. I'm waiting for my co-host CFO usually hops on, but they're in Hong Kong right now, so it does sometimes take them like 5, 10 extra seconds to get on with us just because of the time difference.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I already invited them, so let's just see if we can give them a second to hop on. Uh, I'll shoot him a message too. Um, oh, that's weird. Unable to join. Yeah, that's the downside of going live is you can't like get everybody together ahead of time and then set up the whole production and then go on, right? We have to like wait for everybody to hop on the call, so it can be a little
Yeah.
annoying sometimes. Okay, let's try again. Hmm. There we go.
There we go.
Hi
Hello.
there. Hi there. Hi, it's good morning on my side. And good
Yes,
evening to both of you. Oh, afternoon, right?
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's 4 p.m. for Leo right now and 5 p.m. for me, so
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay, yes. So,
yeah.
good evening to those in on the East Coast, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Um, Well, thanks for hopping on, Stefan. I was worried about you. I don't know if I mentioned this to you over email, Leo, but Stefan got COVID a couple of days ago. So I'm
Yep.
just grateful that you're here and that you're feeling okay and everything's okay.
Well, with occasion, some running nose, but forgive me for that.
Oh,
That's
it's all good.
okay. I'm just glad you're here. Well, thank y'all both for hopping on with us. As usual, like it means so much to me for y'all to take time out of your day to have a really awesome conversation with us and for all of our followers and all the people who DM me afterward who are like, oh, I couldn't get on the live. Like, I can't wait for the recording. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited as usual. But before we hop into the conversation, I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to our organization before we, get started for everybody who's hopping on. So for those of you who don't know, the IATBP International Association of Trans Bodybuilders and Powerlifters, we put on an annual bodybuilding competition and powerlifting meet every year in Atlanta, Georgia. And that's where Leo has competed with us twice now and taken the heavyweight title both times in his
Yeah.
division. Yeah, so we want to let y'all know how important that competition is and how important your support and putting on those events are, because unlike a lot of other federations, we are a nonprofit, so we do rely heavily on members and athletes to support us. So if you enjoy this conversation, you get something out of it, you want to support what we're doing, then definitely consider becoming a member. It's only $49 a year. And because of your contribution, we get to put on this event every year for all of these athletes. And if you're wondering how to become a member, go onto our Instagram account, and there's a post pinned right at the top in the middle that shows you step by step how to go on our website and become a member. If you want to compete with us, which hopefully after listening to Leo talk about it, you're going to be like, yes, I want to do that. Then you can also go become a member first, and then that same post will also tell you how to take it one step further and register for the competition in Atlanta this year. It's going to be on November 18th in Atlanta. So yeah, that's my whole little spiel. And now we're going to go ahead and hop into the conversation, unless you guys want to say anything else, Sifung. I don't know if I missed something.
No, no, you're perfect. You're perfect at
Okay.
introducing our membership
Oh.
program, right? So yes, so let's join us, support us, by being a member. Really, that would help us really a lot.
Yes, thank you so much for everyone who already supports us. Thank you. But yeah, so hopping into the conversation, obviously I'm here all the time. My name's Nat. I'm the assistant executive director of the IATBP. I run all the social media, and that's all you need to know about me. I love bodybuilding, and that's pretty much it. And then CFO, my co-host, is also here all the time. IFBB pro athlete, bodybuilder, posing coach extraordinaire, and gender scholar and advocate for the community, and just all around awesome person who's also an ambassador to the IATBP and a member of our board, is going to be helping me with this conversation today. And then today we're talking to Leo, who, like I mentioned before, is our two-time heavyweight winner, comeback king, waiting for somebody to steal that title from you. If you didn't get a chance to read Leo's bio in our post, Leo, you described yourself as someone who's been a lifelong admirer of bodybuilding, but kind of avoided it for specific gender reasons for a long time. Went into wrestling instead, did that middle school through college, and then kind of more recently in your life came back to bodybuilding during the process of this really incredible weight loss journey, which if you follow him, you'll see some of those pictures. It's really incredible to see. And then following that weight loss journey, came and competed with us, and has competed with us twice and won his division both times. So yeah, we're really excited to hear a little bit more about that journey and what it was like for you. So I guess on that note, to kick off, our first question is kind of the same question that we ask everybody who hops on with us, which is just what got you into lifting and bodybuilding specifically, because other people will do other sports first, or maybe not, and bodybuilding's their first sport, but there's something that just gets them into man, I love lifting weights and I want to do this bodybuilding thing. So what was that for you?
Bodybuilding, for the most part, was in the early 90s when I saw, the first Olympias, those guys on stage. It was just that awe moment. And at the time, I didn't realize it was admiration feeling, because I didn't know, I got, attraction and admiration crisscrossed growing up a lot. And I just admire them, and American Gladiators, those physique, that's everything I ever wanted. And I started lifting probably about the seventh, eighth grade. I started, and just loved it. I love how difficult it is, but also I'm kind of really good at it. So it's when you're good at something, you tend to do it more. So that's something I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, so can you tell us more? So in your bio, you did talk something more about wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So did you try, how did you get into wrestling from lifting? Is it from lifting to wrestling?
It was lifting to wrestling. I saw some wrestlers, and they had that physique to be a good wrestler, internationally or college wise. Those guys are very physique. And it's something also I was very good at. I started in the 7th grade year, and all the way up through college. I was in high school. I was a double national champ, 2-time Triple Crown winner, 4-time state champ. So it was something I really loved. And it's you could be aggressive, but not mean, kind of fighting. I don't have that tenacity, but I love it with weightlifting and wrestling. And weightlifting was a very good add-on to helping with wrestling. And we also had a lot of programs at my school, and I did weight training all through from middle school on. I took a class every year. Something I love to do.
So how does that transition from wrestling? Because, wrestling and bodybuilding is such a different sport, right?
So much. And the dieting is really different, because, I would cut weight unhealthily for wrestling. I could drop 20 pounds in 2 weeks, but a lot of that was liquid. I'm not going to look good on stage, but that was different from,
Right.
losing weight for a physique wise. It has to be slower, and the number doesn't quite matter. It's just how you look on that day on stage. Mm-hmm. So it was a big dramatic change of having to, eat differently, from when I was getting closer to be able to go on stage.
Yeah, and so I knew that you just mentioned that you watched some 90s Olympia, right? I think I also watched some,
Yes.
in my 20s, like I mean, right before I really start working out and thinking about, oh, maybe I can be a bodybuilder one day, right? And so I also did other sports, right, before I actually get into bodybuilding. Like I always talk about, I did marathon running, like it's an entirely, just different sport, right? And then I went rowing and dragon boating, and I realized that, okay, team sport is not my thing, and I just want to go back to, more individual stuff. You have started, right at the start with individual sport, right? But like wrestling is really very much about skills, techniques, right? And bodybuilding is really more about displaying your physique on stage, right?
Yes.
And so what exactly that makes you make that transition? So did you first quit the wrestling team and then eventually find bodybuilding? Because that's what I did. Like I quit my dragon boating team, which I was like, I'm done with team sport. And then I just went to the gym randomly one day, and I met some guy who is a bodybuilder, and he said, I can be a coach. And then that's it. That's how I entered into the world of bodybuilding. So is that something similar happened to you?
I fell in love with both of the sports roughly around the same time, but because of no chance of me able to at the time knowing that I could look like the male bodybuilders, that I didn't want to look like the female bodybuilders with the bikinis and being all pretty and makeup. That's not me. I didn't want to do that, but I love the power physiques. But wrestling I also loved and I was good at. So it was roughly around the same time I fell in love with both the sports. But what helps from wrestling to bodybuilding is the weightlifting, and also just knowing your anatomy of turning something a certain way, and you'll be able to kind of target a muscle a little better if you move this way and that way. It's just acknowledge your self-awareness helped a lot from wrestling to mixed with weightlifting for bodybuilding.
So can you tell me, because I think I had only one experience in my life, really watching wrestling shows. But for you, and I feel like wrestling also is very gendered in a lot of ways, right? Like especially in categories, because you have to think of like safety, right? Quote unquote safety, right?
Yeah.
So do you think like in wrestling and you talk about like bodybuilding, you really don't want to, wear bikini if you have to compete in the women's category, right? So what do you think about maybe the similarities or the differences, like in terms of, sorry, in terms of competing in wrestling competitions and mainstream bodybuilding competition?
It was a little different at first with wrestling because we had the singlets, so your whole physique is actually displayed at the time as well. So what wasn't that big of a difference, because also with wrestling you're the only one in the middle of the mat with you and your opponent. So being in the center of the stage didn't really worry me too much. And also I did drag king for a little bit, so mixed, not stage fright, kind of a thing. So mix all those together, it's kind of just. And I love the artistry of bodybuilding, of the flow from one pose to another, and just the way some people display it is just something I admire so much. So you mix a little bit of those together, and that's me.
And I think that's so interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. Is there something you want to add?
Yeah, well, and also with like wrestling, sometimes people think the old school WWE stuff is the high school collegiate and also freestyle, which is the Olympian style. Which in 2008 I was top 3 in the United States, but I wasn't able to go and try out for Olympic team trials because I was taking care of my mother when she had cancer and was passing away. And after that, and that's when I gained all my weight and I stopped wrestling and had a hiatus for about 10 years after that.
Walk us a little bit more about that period of, I mean, probably, maybe one of the darkest moments in your life, right?
I had do random changes, I guess, through a lot of darkness, and that was an unhealthy way, was after my mother passed away. But how another, I had a breakup, and that's how I started weight training, and I did my lifestyle change. But like 3 months after the breakup and I started my weight loss journey, my town burnt down, and I was homeless for about 6 months. I lived at friends' houses, but the only control I had was the gym. and for the most part, my diet. So that was a lot of the goal of, having something to move forward and use that very therapeutically of weightlifting and going into my own little world.
So how was so when was exactly that happened? Is it around 10 years ago?
2008 was my mother passed away, and I did my lifestyle change in about beginning of 2018.
Oh wow. So yeah, that was a 10-year period between when that dark period you described it as kind of was triggered versus when you felt like you were finally able to start taking some control over the situation.
Yeah, I was, when my mom got diagnosed, I probably was around 160 pounds with some visible abs as a female presenting person, to when I started my weight loss journey, I was a little bit over 300 pounds.
Oh wow. Wow, that's I just wanted to say thanks for acknowledging that, because I know that that's something you talk about a lot, is your transformation journey of the weight loss period, but something that we at least haven't heard about yet is the period leading up to that. And so I just wanted to acknowledge you and thank you for being honest about that with us, because it's courageous for you to open up about that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I believe as a lifelong athlete, right, seeing yourself like physique-wise, changing, and then, and also emotionally, undergoing all these turmoils, right? It must be a really hard period of time. So, and, we always also ask this question. So how does gender come into, the whole, dynamic of sports for you? Is it around the same period, or is it earlier when you first started wrestling and lifting?
Representation, like having like no one to see us exist, was a big thing, because we were either, the butt of a joke, or we were some victim or something gross at. So not knowing that we had an option was a big hindrance. But I always, I admired bodybuilders. I thought it was attraction. I thought I admired, these, redheads, but no, that they were cute. So one day, you crisscross, like, oh, all those feelings I had growing up was actually, I wanted to look like him. Not
I wanted to be that, yeah.
Yeah. And then watching the documentary, Boys Don't Cry, that traumatized me and put my transition thing on hiatus, because at the time in California, you had to live in your gender for a year before even hormones, and that, insurance didn't cover it. And I lived in a very very dangerous area to be out. So even if it was California, it wasn't the best time to be out or safe. So being a wrestler and a weightlifter, and was very even masculine, and when I was female presenting, was at least intimidating enough that most people didn't really give me too much of a hard time, even though I like dude sports as well.
Gotcha. So you talked a little bit about kind of what triggered you wanting to sort of take control of your physique a little bit and kind of begin this journey of weight loss. I feel like a lot of people kind of have that moment where they start trying to pursue that. But I think that's just the beginning of the challenge, right? Staying motivated throughout that process and then keeping the weight off are the next two most challenging things for anybody going through that kind of journey. So I would love to hear from you about kind of that process and what kept you motivated, like not just through the process of losing weight and getting to this kind of like goal weight or goal physique or whatever your goal was, but once you got there, like what kept you there,
I watched a speech. I love watching speeches. There was one, I believe, was Arnold, and he was saying how you could see in the background, he had posters displayed everywhere, all over my house. I'll have posters of those bodybuilders as reminders. I have a couple on my fridge, to remind me.
I can see something at your background, right?
Yeah,
someone's legs.
Yeah, design yourself. There's this motivation and reminder, especially trying to break those lifelong habits. I have narcolepsy, and I had a doctor train me, if I'm tired, eat, because you can't eat and fall asleep at the same time. So, you know, if I struggle being sad, I want to eat. If I'm sleepy, I want to eat. So I have to change things. Those long-term lifetime habits is, you know, hide the food, eat better snacks, keep my motivation up is with those posters, watch videos. And if I mess up, next meal, do it correctly and not try to beat myself down too much, because then it will just, you know, be spiral.
So do you have any interesting story that you can share with us, in one of these like moments where, you have all these temptation and then, positive thoughts come in and then you said, okay, I'm gonna, continue what I believe in.
You know, so like you'll have those moments where sometimes you'll look right in the mirror, like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm glad I didn't eat that. Or sometimes I'll actually enjoy watching someone eat something yummy and tell me how it is, or things like that really do help me. They're squirreling away, but for like big moments of seeing small changes over time, or the big parts, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad I didn't mess up, or or if I was good all week, that one, refill or cheat meal really is an extra taste, extra good, and you sit there and enjoy it. But I'm pretty good at like repetitive meals over and over again. For the most part, I'm fairly well of enjoying those.
You see, Nat, I have a friend now. Like Neil, you're my friend. You also watch someone else eating when you want to eat, right?
Well, I had a friend. She actually qualified the '08 Olympics, but couldn't compete. But she would cut weight, and how she would cut out water. She would have you chug water in front of her, and she would just sit there and just stare at you.
Jeez.
And she would go to the next person, chug some water, and you just sit there and just stare at you, and their mouth waters a little bit, so you can just sweat more. But that's like the different cutting with wrestling and bodybuilding. It's the numbers and the physique.
Oh, I could not do that. Y'all are a different breed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so you started weight loss from around 300 pounds in 2018, right? Is it correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and so how was that process look like? So from 2018, you competed with us in 2021. So how does that period look like from 2018 to 2021? Was the weight loss journey smooth for you, or is it bumpy all along the way?
The first 6 months is the hardest to develop the habit. And I've kept on watching like videos online and YouTube, a couple, bodybuilders, get a little motivation and just change little things at a time to make it long-term, and long-term things I could do, like maybe no mayonnaise on my sandwich. I'm a type person, just from that to then I had a calorie counter. So like the awareness, at least what I was consuming, and I slowly stopped more weight, and then I started getting more muscle, and then I got to around like 220, and I've leveled around 215 to 202, and that's around my hover weight as of right now. But that's where
and when was that?
Stick.
When was that? When you were 200 something?
How
long does it take you?
I'm at 205 right now.
Yes. And you said you were from 300 and then you went to 220? Yes. How long does it take?
I think that took about about a year.
Wow.
And then the rest of that was like muscle gain fluctuation.
Right.
It's because my motto was, more muscle I have, the more I'm going to burn calories at rest. So that's kind of where I was at. Is just did some cardio and lifting and just slowly changed my diet.
Yeah. That's a really good training mentality too, right? So a lot of people always think that, okay, when I lose weight, I'm just like, keep on doing cardio and cardio and cardio. But I always say that, it's all about, the fat and the muscle ratio, right? So if you increase when you do cardio, you reduce the fat, right? And you have to do lifting, right? Whether it's weightlifting or whatever lifting, body weight is still fine, to increase that muscle mass. It also helps to reduce the fat, right? The ratio of it, right? So I think a lot of people tend to have some misunderstanding about weight loss. You definitely know the best among us, but it's not just about 100 hours, 200 hours of cardio, right? And just running and doing all sorts of like sweat, making whatever, stuff, right? But it's also really so much about, weightlifting too. I mean, a lot of times I have people talk to me that, oh, I'm not going to get big. I don't want to be big. I want to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
But I think, for you, you have a really right training mindset, right, at the beginning. And the knowledge of it is so important for you to lose that much weight in such a short period of time.
Yeah. It's like the combination, like to gain muscle, generally you want to do cardio afterwards, but as habit forming, I like doing cardio before because it's easy to weight lift and then dip and not do your cardio. And then to make it almost cardio-like for your heart, I like to, in the beginning, I would do maybe like my arms and then my legs, or bicep, triceps back and forth at, in between reps. So your heart's pumping more blood to your bicep and your tricep. So it's almost a cardio-like thing because you're just trying to get more blood into different parts instead of just one body part, So I try to combine all that when I first started, and it seemed to do pretty well.
And how was that? I'm very curious about like how was the like training routine look like for you? Do you start cardio? You said you'd like to start cardio first, right? But do you start it at the first thing in the morning, or just first thing at the gym? So how was that routine look like for you during those times?
It depends on my job. I worked night shift at the time, and I liked going after I got off of work before I went to bed. Now I like going when I kind of just wake up and do I'll do half cardio lift and then do cardio instead of a big chunk. But I generally like trying to do fasted to hopefully, because of some things I've read and heard is that sometimes you'll burn more of the fat stored than what you are consuming. I know there's debate about that, but that's what I'm at least attempting to try, because I just hold weight. I have a hard time cutting weight.
Yeah, and a lot of times those weights are also water weights, right? So if you're working shifts, right, you don't have a really regular probably time to sleep, right? And you don't have a standard, maybe the sleep quality is not as good as you might think, right? And that also add in stress, in your body, right? And those would actually make not only you, but everybody really hard to lose weight, and will tend to hold on the water and also the fat, right? Thinking that is the last resort that it has, So I can totally relate to that. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I also feel like there is a lot of discussion about faster cardio, for instance, right? I myself is a fan of faster cardio because I feel like and I think because I also have a more so-called more standard regular time schedule. So I can do faster cardio right at the beginning in the morning, and then you just move on your day and then work out in the evening, something like that, right? But I feel like for people like you who have been doing like jobs that is less stable, right? It will be even a harder challenge, right, for you to maintain that kind of habit. And so I think it was I really admire people like yourself, like being able to keep that consistent, right? And at what point do you think that, okay, I lose enough weight, maybe I should try bodybuilding? Or, I mean, I can see your passion about bodybuilding.
Right.
But, stepping on stage is an entirely different thing, right? Especially like when you have, when you have been to 300 and then you have to trim down not only 200 with decent shape, but you need to be really in shape, right? With muscle up, visible and stuff like that. So what makes you feel like, at what moment do you feel like, okay, maybe I should try competing? And of course, how do you find us in the process?
A little bit was I always wanted to compete, but a little bit was seeing the documentary, Self-Made Man. That helped put a big chunk on it. I even had like a post years ago on Facebook, like, I'm gonna do this, like out of the blue. I did the weightlifting, the weight loss. I'm going to compete all at once, and part of it was just being patient. Someone I follow on YouTube said if when you want your visible abs, get the number you think. Say, I thought maybe it'll take me 2 years to get a six-pack. probably going to take me 4. So double the time, and roughly that's what you're going to get. And just enjoy the process, because you'll slowly have things pop, like a new vein or a little bit more muscular or look a little bit better on lighting. That's a good drive for me. And I kind of was just ready to go from the get-go. And then also I Googled Transmen bodybuilding, and 2 things popped up, you guys, and then one in New York. And me and my coach at the time discussed it and decided to compete with you guys, even though I'm way on the West Coast.
Gotcha. Yeah, that seems to be how a lot of people find us, is the documentary, and then like Google, they'll just be like trans bodybuilding, and we just right there.
Yeah, so we need members. Like, please support us so that we can put on some more ads on Google. Or any news outlet interested to interview our athletes and us, our competition. Now is the best time, you see, how so many people benefited from, just searching random, words together, right? Not really random, but words together, that, and then find us. And I think that is such an important kind of, platform.
Right. Well, you kind of have to Google it, because I did the same thing, actually. That's how I found it, because I'm non-binary. When I was in college, I was like, oh man, maybe I'd like to compete one day. And I just went on Google, and I was like, there's literally no place for me to compete except for this one thing that popped up on Google. And like, nobody even knows it exists. And that's how I got, involved with the organization. I was like, more people need to know that this exists, because it's all that exists right now,
It's a really good safe space to do your first competitions, I feel, because like you said, being on stage is a totally different thing. But being on stage with those trunks that you may have not moved around or been that lean, or it had to be sprayed, the glue spray to stick everything in place, pack or not to pack, it is a lot of questions and a lot of anxieties to go through, and to do it there and feel safe if it didn't work out the way you thought it would was a big thing that I really put a lot of relief off of me and made me look forward to other competitions.
That's good. I mean, what made you decide? Sorry, I've never had anyone heard anyone say that before, that there's one in New York and then they decided to compete with us instead. What kind of like pushed you towards us? Because I'm familiar with that competition, nothing against them. But a lot of people seem to kind of make that decision as well, and I don't understand what it is.
It wasn't really that active. It didn't seem like it seemed like the site was down. Like there wasn't really competitions going to happen, or there was no engagement that I could see. That was the biggest part. Was I want to go and have more than just 2 people the entire show. I wanted at least a competition, and I wanted to not be the only guy there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think you both also remind me of how I actually, so I'm from Hong Kong, right, far away. And you also remind me of how I found IATBP. Like, I knew about it when, I think I also Googled probably, like, I was looking for bodybuilders who are transgender. And I was like, because I was doing my dissertation, and then I was writing about female bodybuilders, and females who are actually more out of the line, right, that are not typical like feminine female bodybuilders, and then I was like, oh, is there any out trans bodybuilders? Of course, like I found one who actually competed, a trans woman, I think is like Christina Bruce, and then like she competed in one of these like local shows in America back in a lot of like some years ago. And I was like, okay, so and then I think eventually I found IATBP right around maybe 2017, 16. And I was like, oh, it looks really fun. And I was actually planning to come to compete. I was like, I should come around and compete. But things happened, and then I eventually just went to mainstream routes to compete. And then like years later, I'm here, in America, and then like being able to, sit with all of you to talk about our experiences. And I think that was really amazing journey. So I think, the universe always did something to put us all connected together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and Leo, I'm just really admire, the not just your weight loss journey, but really so much about, you deciding to step on stage because I do have like clients and students who have like gained weight a lot and then they lose weight and then they're trying to compete, right? And a lot of times, in bodybuilding, we only wear posing trunks, right? So, and then there will be marks that, that showcase, that you were in a certain weight before, right? And so, like, I can see sometimes my students, like, they would get anxiety about, how their body look, especially, right, with those marks, right, that, or those extra skin, right, that actually showcase maybe not such a so-called perfect physique in a lot of
Right.
times in how we stereotype, right, physique and bodybuilding. So for you, how do you do you have also have similar issues? If so, like, do you
Right.
have any advice or tips on how you overcome that kind of,
Right.
a lot of times it's our mindset, right?
Right, especially with bodybuilding because
Yeah.
bodybuilders are so like nitpicky on the fine details of our physique, and it can be a really hard thing to like break out of and really put your best physique on stage without those like that negative self-talk, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Like the body dysphoria kind of went from like a big blanket to zoomed in, not as concentrated in certain parts. Like I do struggle a lot with certain areas of my body that I love and hate. Like I love my legs because I have pretty big legs.
right.
But where my glutes meet my hammies, there's loose skin and it hangs, and like especially when from the back, that kills my look completely. And anybody with a semi good physique there will I feel like outbest me, and that was a struggle. I think with maybe more dieting and some of the spray glue into the trunks and faith would help a little bit. Um, but hoping the weight loss and maybe it'll tighten up. But that is something I do struggle with. Was lucky to, because of the fire I told you about, I got a little bit of a settlement, and I used that for some skin removal on my lower abdomen. From my first year to the second year, there's some photos you could see of the skin look a little bit more smoother and not as tucked in. But it's like a stretched balloon. Sometimes it can only go back so far, and it's just being realistic and love your body regardless, because that just shows so much hard work. You went from big to little, and it's a love-hate relationship, and it's something I'm still working with, but it's better than what it was. It's better than it was. So I'm trying to fill the legs in to make up for the weight loss as in more muscle, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I think that's a very smart move, right? Putting those muscles in to feel those extra skin. Yeah, I mean, I do have like students who would do all these different laser treatments, and all sorts of like, I don't know, like a skin removal surgery and stuff like that, to make up that, the fact that they feel sometimes, insufficient, right? In comparison to someone who didn't have gone through that journey. So I think, acknowledging that kind of insecurity is also very important, right? Especially in a culture where we often like shame people. I mean, even bodybuilding and mainstream bodybuilding as well in particular, right? We tend to shame people who have undergone like, such a weight difference and transformation, right? And, especially when they decide to step on stage, right? So it's good if you're doing, whatever 1 year transformation on social media, right? The fitness industry, really embrace that kind of story because it's a huge difference, right? And we want transformation, we want change, we want, big visual effects, right? But when it comes to really stepping on stage, it becomes something else. Like we start to blame people with those slight imperfection, ignoring the fact that we are all imperfect.
Right, imperfections
Right?
in quotations, because we've all got like stretch marks and scars and like shit like that. So yeah.
Yeah, so like thank you so much for sharing that to be honest and share those insecurity.
Yeah.
Um And in terms of mindset, though, do you feel like when you're trying to lose weight, and then is there a mindset shift for you, like when you start when you compare yourself during the period of time when you doing the weight loss, and then really deciding to step on stage? So do you think the mindset change? Like, are you become more determined? Are you become more secure? I mean,
Right.
what
When the
was that
goal shifted
experience of?
from just like losing weight and getting fit to like I'm gonna compete and step on stage. That's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference of like, being fit from like, a shot putter to a
Right.
gymnast. So when
Right.
going from,
Mm,
but they're both athletic and they're both fit, but for
Right.
purpose, but from going from just generally fit to cutting to being on stage, it was trying to see food as fuel and not as something delightful, as in purposeful, eating for a purpose is the main part, and try to tunnel vision into what I want. And then you'll have those parts moments where maybe you'll lose a little bit of weight and you'll look in the mirror and like, oh, okay, my legs showing those lines a little bit more. Okay, I got this. And it's an up and down relationship of really trying to be determined and fight everything and eat correctly and stay on my workout regimen and cardio and stuff and keeping that going and not sneak stuff, because it's going to tell on stage. You can't hide that.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
apart from, like, I mean, we talk about stretch marks, right? All these like traces, right, of the wonderful journey that you have gone through. Apart from that, do you feel like there was other, like, mental, physical challenges for you, during the both journeys, right? The weight loss journey and also the bodybuilding journey. And if so, like, how did you actually overcome all these obstacles?
I try to do like one day at a time, and I have a fairly good support at home. My wife and my roommate are really
Mm-hmm.
good at hiding snacks. My wife helps
Ah.
me with my meals. So, because if I have it cooked in front of me, I will eat it. Then having to, well, I could sneak off and have this. But if I have it ready in front of me, that helps me. But with the struggles is just lean on my support and also go back into watching motivational videos or taking space. It's up and down throughout the whole process, especially when you're just because when you were so heavy, your stomach also is kind of like a balloon. It could only go back to normal size. So I'm not quite sure if my stomach had damage, because I am always hungry. So with never quite feeling full, sometimes it is a struggle.
And I think that really counts to that mental struggle, right? So we talked to like bodybuilders who prep competitions before. I mean, they all point to the same thing, right? Especially when you're really, really dieting with really, really low calories, right? Your brain just changed, and then you suddenly have like weird cravings. Like I have weird cravings for me during my prep. And some talk about like the emotion, right? They become more emotional, they become more easily irritated. And so those are some of the things that, it's really different from who I am. Like I'm a gentle, the nicest guys in the world, and suddenly I become the whole other new person. So did that also occur to you, or did you like, just chill?
Things that irritate me maybe in like 10 minutes would irritate me in 3, like,
Mm,
I would be like, guys, you're doing nothing wrong right now, but you're irritating me, and then I'm going to leave. Or,
mm,
I'm sorry, I'm hangry, I'm going to go do something else. Or like, you're eating too loud, little things like that. I'll get really grumpy.
mm.
But usually my roommate, my wife are pretty lenient of like, he's hangry. That's okay. They'll eat, like when I was they'll eat chicken on the sidelines, like away from me. When I'm in the front room, like really hangry with the baby food basically you're eating at the end, the rice, watered rice stuff. I'm trying.
Are you breaking up a little bit?
Yeah, you're cutting out for me, Leo.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It seems better. Can you repeat a little bit of the baby rice? I lost you at the baby rice.
Oh, the baby rice.
Me too. Me
Well,
too.
when I was eating that, my roommate and my wife would eat in the kitchen, usually not, generally not around me, because that's when things were really just difficult, because that's when my calorie was real low, but then also I had slipped up, so then it would make the diet even tighter. So it was hard staying on track, but usually generally I would warn them that I'm hangry and I need some space.
Mm. And I also heard that you have a coach, right? So do you so I'm sure you had a coach. Is it that you have a coach during your weight loss? And do you have the same coach or a different coach for prepping you for a bodybuilder, or do you coach yourself?
I had one coach for like 2 months in the beginning, and he
Mm.
kind of just helped me organize my workout. Because in high school, I did the program Bigger, Faster, Stronger, but I just needed
Mm.
someone to help design a workout. And I was him for like 3 months, and then when I moved up here, I was with my one coach for like 3 years. And this beginning of January, I switched to a new coach just because something different, and someone that has a different experience and just something new to give more drive, because sometimes it was you've been with the same person for so many years, something different, but she helps me with my diet, checking in, keep me accountable, and my workouts recently she's been organizing that for me.
Yeah, I think she
So
came to
how
your show, right? Sorry.
No, yeah, my last coach, she went with me to both of the last two shows, and
Yeah. Okay, I
the
was wondering
last
if that was your coach. I saw her there.
yeah, she was like little Miss Coach Mom for a while, and went in the back and was
Yeah.
helping everyone with their suits, and out there like giving little tips for just running those little community in the back, helping each other out. It was really neat.
Um, you're cutting out a little bit, Leo. I don't know if it's the internet
Oh,
connection or yeah.
um,
It's the video and stuff is just like
oh
okay.
no, that's no good. I'm sorry. But
It's
yeah,
okay.
that was her. She was back there helping everyone out. I loved the community with everyone.
So yes, because it's not very typical that someone would bring their coach as well, right, to a competition. So how important is the coach for you, for your prepping and for the stepping on stage?
I think it's important for me to have a coach, because with wrestling I
Mm,
always had someone with my coach near me and telling me what to do, and I'm good at being told what to do and do it, especially when my brain's not working
yes.
because I'm cutting. I need that person from looking from the outside in saying, no, don't eat, no, don't drink, go for a run, go relax, because you need that at that time, because you're so cut down, you need that person, and I need someone to hold my hand. It will help, especially when I had to go on stage when you had to wear the mask.
Right.
My glasses fogged up. Then I had to take my glasses off, but then I'm blind as a bat without it, so she had to, walk me in and out.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And I think a lot of times when like people like ourselves, right, trying to find, I mean, even myself, right, trying to find a coach sometimes is quite difficult. And especially finding someone who actually could accept you, right, about of who you are. And especially knowing really your physique, right? Because I've known people who transitioned, right? And they try to find a coach, but they never tell them, their bodily condition. And so a lot of times, when it comes to supplements, when it being very forefront to your coach about some of the situations and some of the bodily conditions that you're going through. So for you, how do you find your coach? Do you have and what is your criteria, in a sense, right, of of finding someone that you think can help you?
Well, oddly, I found my coach on TikTok.
Oh.
Well,
how
the
how
reason
how did you do that?
Well, I was, I'm flipping through my videos, and I do follow a lot of, males that are coaches or discuss a lot of bodybuilding stuff online. So you know some of the verbiage. You have follow and I overheard her talking about supplements and working out, the same intelligent verbiage as all these other like men, and knowing that she knows just as much or more as them. And I was like, you know, I'm going to reach out to her. And I reached out to her, and she seemed really excited and wanted to coach me, even though she's in Texas, but we'll check in. And that was my criteria. It was at least knowledge and safety, and doing everything correct and best to the abilities. But if she was, I feel like, a cis male, she would probably have like millions of followers. The verbiage and her knowledge, I feel like. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna snatch up on that, you know, quick as possible. So that's how I found her.
That was an unusual encounter.
Yeah.
That was really, really interesting.
I got a dog on Instagram, so I mean.
Oh.
Yeah, well, there's a female bodybuilder from Russia, and I follow her, and she had a dog from the breeder where I got my dog, so I felt that was super cool. You never know.
Wow. Wow, wow. So you really have like some very unique connection with the bodybuilding community, right? And you benefit from, you know, their generosity and their guidance and stuff like that. That was really, really cool. Yes, right now we have to come to, you know, this very important question, right? So we all know that you have like competed with us for 2 years. So, you know, walk us through a little bit of your experience for your first year. I think you first competed in 2021, right? So I think we were I always joke with that was like a church that we went to. Like,
it was a
right?
church, yeah, actually. It was.
It was church.
It's like a renovated, right? Kind of, you know, kind of a church setting, right? And I always find that very, very, you know, I mean, bizarre, but also so interesting and so fun, right? To actually do a performance, you know, as trans ourselves, right? And then in a church setting, right? And then the next year, in 2022, we actually kind of elevate our venue to a more theater kind of setting that tries to mimic more like mainstream competition. So in general, then how were your experiences in both years look like for you? You know, it could be, you know, anything like competitors, I don't know, like, you know, the people, it could be about the venue, about organizing and stuff like that.
The both years were really, really fun. The first year was fun and something new. Traveling and B&B was the most difficult part because of financially.
Right.
There, it felt a little bit rushed because you guys had a big chunk of like the lighter weights, and then there was like the middleweight and then the heavyweight, because we went on and did our manual poses and then mandatory poses, and then he got off, I did my routine, stepped off, he did his routine, and then we did pose off, and I'm sweating, and I didn't even get off, and you guys put the other guys, the lightweight on there, and we did pose off, and I didn't get a break. And so I need to work more on posing longer term. I felt a little rushed, but it was really enjoyable. I liked the way we were lifted off the ground a little bit. The second year, it was a bigger, a little bit more, we could prep in the back and not as like crammed. That was really, really great. The only thing that threw me off was when you guys told me to turn left. You know, we're always supposed to turn right. That's the only thing that threw me off. I would hope for maybe a better pose off for the overall winners, but I really enjoyed that. And if I ever do compete again, hopefully I don't have to worry about masks and my glasses getting all fogged up and all that good jazz. And I love making my routine. That's because like the artistry, there's almost like a meaning between every pose I have with the songs and stuff like that, which is just something I was so grateful and loved so much, was doing my routine.
Yeah, and I was there in the judging panel in 2022, and I think one thing that you stood out apart from your physique is really about we asked every one of you to actually prepare a biography, right? And then to like a lot of people just write a few sentences. You actually prepare, you know, you're well prepared, right? With like, you know, I think it's maybe a few paragraphs, right, about your journey, about your life. And I think that is amazing because I think that is exactly what IATBP stands out, from mainstream competition, because we allow time, we give time, and we give voice, right, to our competitors. It's not just like, look at the physique and come and go, like as in mainstream competition, right? We
Right.
really spend time. We take your time. We take the time for you to, to introduce yourself. And I think you did a super amazing job, right? At briefing us, your story. And that's why I still remember, even though we didn't get a chance to actually talk to each other, I remember so vividly about some of the things you mentioned, right, on your bio. And I think that was a very, very important. I mean, that's what make IATDP a safe space, I guess. So for
We
you,
try to,
yeah.
so as I said, we try to honor the story behind, because every competitor has a story behind what got them there and to who they are. And I agree with Sifeng as well. It's like, the physique is what you're being judged on, but we also give you the opportunity to share that story and kind of put a history to the physique that's up on stage for all the people in the audience. And I just think that's a cool experience that takes it to a level above just like, oh, like look at the incredible physique or whatever it is,
Yeah, it's really great to give a little more information and backstory to that physique you see on stage, because we had to go through a little bit more of a journey than some other cisgender folk who do bodybuilding. The journey is a little bit different, and it's a little bit more custom, and I do enjoy that you guys can personalize it instead of just, walk on stage, boom, 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 and off. You can get to know the person a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah, and another thing I really also like about IATBP is that we also, I mean, in mainstream competitions, a lot of times only the top competitors, the top contenders can actually do the posing round, right? The free music, right? The posing round. And then we, for us, it's really important to have everyone, take their time on stage and showcase their physique. And I remember every time you came out, to pose, you've always posed so confidently. And I think that always amazes me. Now I know why, because you have some, experiences, doing like drag shows and stuff like that. Do you think that, that confidence actually come in from, previous experiences of like maybe drag shows or wrestling itself?
A little bit, yeah, of both wrestling and being on stage, and the lights kind of blinding you. You're not quite seeing the people in front of you. There's just the task at hand, and people, read that nervousness. So you just got to wipe that away and do what you're, kind of, muscle memory of trained of how to do which angle, and lots of practice. But this, yeah, even though I was real nervous, you got to at least fake it that you're confident and you're not nervous at all, and no one will notice.
So yeah, and I think that's really cool. I mean, please continue to do that, and please, okay, now I have to ask you this important question, right? Are you prepping for for the 2023?
That was gonna be
IATBP?
my question too. is like, what are your competitive aspirations moving forward? Like, are you gonna compete with us this year? Are you thinking NPC? Like, what's the mindset right now?
I would love to, but it's like all the way in Georgia, and I can't afford to like go all the way out there. But I'm gonna try to stay on the West Coast, and I want to do NPC because my aim is to go pro someday. Most likely open, classic, even cut down. I don't think that's quite light enough amateur wise. But I think I want to do something more local within. My coach said maybe spring of next year. But I would totally love to go out and prep and compete again. But it's literally the travel and the B&B all the way over there. I saved up for both of those competitions. But you need something different, so I need to try something different. And this prepped me and put me in a safe space to kind of know the routine and know how it's going to feel to be on stage, so it's a little bit less scary, to go out. And I'm lucky enough that even with my scars, I don't think people would really notice. So that helps me a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that, you have all these experiences, especially I think a lot of times a lot of people have stage fright, right? So and then you get that experience and then you're not afraid of stage, right? And I think that's one essential thing that, really, showcase your physique because a lot of I've seen so many people that have so great physique, but they're so like timid and shy and then suddenly they forget about their posing, right? And they forget what to do, and I think those actually would mark down their whole performance, and I think that is something that I will never worry about you. And I'm really proud to have you and see you flourish and potentially competing in some of these like mainstream shows and with huge success. And and I think one of our last questions that we always love to know from our guests is, what would you have advised, right? Or what would you have probably hoped to know, right? For your first competition, for your first, stepping on stage. Is there any advice that you would like to give to people who is thinking about competing, especially like competing for IATBP this year?
I think is just think of the goal in the long run. You can do it. Don't eat those snacks, Leo, because I saw it in my physique. I know I was probably about 7 pounds from what physique I wanted. It was so close,
Mm.
but not quite. But, that's just the learning experience. This part of it is like, okay, well, I'm going to do better next time, and that's the fun part. Is that chasing that, trying to do better each time. Is that calm down, relax, just up. That helps with my weight. Trying to relax, and then also just you got this. Fall through on the diet because that will show up at the end, and that is my the probably weakest point is that part. But yeah.
Yes, that is really great advice, and I really like
Yeah.
that you are wearing the same shirt as me.
Yeah,
Represent.
I saw you both. I was like, man, why I'm so like not on board with the team. Nobody gave me the memo, you
Yeah,
know?
you got the flag. You got the flag behind you.
Yeah, I got the flag back here, but you can't really see it that well. I should have matched with you guys. You guys should have told me. What the hell?
And yes, Nat, do we have any particular questions from the audience?
Well, somebody did ask a question to both of you actually, but Leo already kind of answered it, which is like, when are you stepping on stage again? You kind of already told us like what your competitive aspirations were, and then they actually also wanted to know if Steve Fung, when are you getting back on stage?
When I am planning to get back on stage next year.
Oh,
So
hell
yeah,
yeah!
yeah. So yeah, now it's really like trying to bulk up a little bit and then eventually go to the prep mode, which I'm a bit scared because like I haven't been prepping since 2018. So my
Oh,
last competition was
wow.
2018, no 2019, and then COVID hit,
Oh,
and then you stop for a few years. And I came to the US to do my PhD at Emory, and then it's just a different life. So it's like studying, and then it's like you start to sit in front of your um in front of your laptop 10 hours a day, and then like you start like and then the motivation sometimes just kind of like ceased out, right? Because you have to maintain all this workload in school, but at the same time you also want to train. And
Hmm.
so now I am hoping that I can finish my exam at the end of this year so that I can really get back to that mindset. And I need to ask for Leo's advice then, how to
right.
overcome all
I
the
I
obstacles and
that's hard. I recently in the process. I have 2 full-time jobs, and I'm recently dropping one so I can
wow.
focus more on that because it's just like you said. You sit for 10 hours. I work 90 or 60 to 90 hours a week.
Wow.
So it's everything's broken down to 10 minutes of my life, so it is hard with that motivation. So we had, as a group, as a family, sat down and was like, all right, well, I'm going to drop this one job and really focus on some gaining and prepping for spring, hopefully. Either San Diego or Oregon. My family's all in California, so we'll see.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm excited for both of y'all. I don't I don't compete because I just don't compete for reasons, but I live vicariously through all of you guys competing. So yeah, thank you, Leo. We're basically about to wrap up because we're out on time, and there's not really any other questions from the audience, and we went through all of our questions that we had for you. So before we close out, I kind of want to reiterate what we said in the beginning for those of y'all that joined us later on during the conversation, that, you know, this series and these conversations that we get to have with past athletes affiliated with us, not affiliated with us, it's only possible because of y'all's support. So our events, these chat series, and any future events that we want to do all over the country, we can't get there without membership support. So please, if you got anything out of this conversation, if you see what our athletes get, athletes like Leo, who come and get to compete with us and get that experience that then propels them to hopefully compete in other organizations too, that they might not have had otherwise, please consider becoming a member. It's only $49 a year. You get a super cool t-shirt like these guys are rocking. We have new ones coming out that are white now, but the same logo. And that $49 a year helps us put on all of our events and do everything that we're doing. And if you want to know how to do that, go on our Instagram account and check out the post pinned right at the top that shows you how to go on our website, how to become a member. And if you were inspired by this conversation and you want to compete with us in November, do the same thing, get your membership, and that post also shows you how to register for this year's competition. It's going to be November 18th in Atlanta, Georgia. And I can attest from going to 2 shows now, talking to all these athletes, it can be truly a life-changing experience. So definitely consider competing, or even just consider flying out just to check out the competition and show these guys some support. So yeah, I think that's everything that I have. Did I forget something?
No, you're really good. Just remember to follow Leo and follow me as well.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and follow both our journeys, into, different bodybuilding routes. But we will meet somewhere. And next time when I come to the West Coast, I'm going to visit you, and then we should train.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to see pictures from that gym session for sure.
Well, matching t-shirts.
Exactly, yeah. A little pose off in the IATBP shirts would be cool.
Leg day is one of my favorites. We would have a blast.
Oh, yeah. I have one of those brutal leg sections. Yeah, you should try. Okay, yes. Yeah, thank you so much for, sharing your experiences with us and being vulnerable with us. And I think, our audiences will be really, really, grateful, for what you have shared with us. I think there are some of these tough moments that you were managed to overcome, and then you shine, and, perform so well on stage. And we also wish the very best of you, so that, in your upcoming competitions, wherever you go, you will just, shine and be yourself and, be proud. So thank you so much for, coming to talk with us today. And thank you, Nat, also for organizing, these really, really cool, IG live technical stuff.
Yes, I'm happy to do all that. And also keep an eye out on our Instagram for our next one. It's going to be with another former winner, Perseus Moon, who competed in both the Masc II and the gender non-conforming non-binary division, and took the title in that division, in the gender non-conforming division. And that's going to be on August 16th, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. I think I got those time zones correct. So yeah, keep an eye out on our Instagram for just details about all that. And again, thank you, Leo. Thank you, Sifon, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Have a good evening or afternoon, and
Yes.
have a good morning for myself.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye.